Welcome back to the GCSAA TV live stage here, presented in partnership with Enview. I'm at the 2024 GCSAA Conference and Trade Show here in lovely Phoenix, Arizona. And for those of us that have got outside and don't get the sun as much this time of year, it's tough being inside. But while you're in here, let's have some good conversation. I'm joined with Dr. Cochran here from DPH Biologicals to talk about your bioaeration program. Absolutely. But Alex, before we get started to talk about that, we were talking backstage, and there's some heritage with growth products, turf growth products, a company that we've been familiar with in the turf industry for a really long time. Let's start with that background.
Absolutely. So yeah, DPH Biologicals was a name that was formed in 2018 that included a merger of two companies, one of which was growth products. So that legacy lives on through DPH Biologicals, and then just this past year, a group, including myself, became co-owners of the company. So it went through a transition. It was private equity owned for a period of time. Okay. That transitioned to myself and a small handful of us that are now the owners.
Yeah, and again, before we get into the technology, we shared a mutual colleague in Alan Taylor at Cornell, who's, I'm sure, not listening to this, retired now. But seed science, right, and the coding of seeds is a big thing in agriculture, leads to enhanced plant health and better yield. And it sounds like you're starting to bring some of that biological thinking now from ag. Absolutely. And other things you've learned with your background with Syngenta and Corteva now into this company and focusing on what we would call bioaeration. Just in practical terms, you're trying to use a biological to solve a soil physical problem. So let's start with how does this thing work and what's the technology involved?
Absolutely. So, you know, one of the things that I've been at this now in product development with some of the large names that you see in the hall here for many, many years. I became fascinated with biologicals and the role that they can play in terms of helping support traditional practices, whether it's in conventional agriculture or certainly in turf management. What I've come to learn over the last 20 years is that biologicals can be a part of that solution. So, you know, in some cases you hear companies out there talking about total replacement of traditional practices, and there may be an opportunity for that in some places, but I look at it much more pragmatically, which is the opportunity to work hand in hand with conventional approaches. So just, you know, as you mentioned, Alan and seed care as an example. So that was really where I first became introduced to biologicals as a solution, and was actually a part of a team that helped introduce, in the case of Corteva and Pioneer Seed, a biological on every unit of treated seed that goes out the door with Pioneer. So if you think about the tens of millions of acres of Pioneer treated seed that it impacts, it's a lot. And a lot of people aren't even aware of the importance of the biological as a part of that seed treatment recipe. Right. So then taking that a step further into what can we do with turf with biologicals. So one of the things that we've seen through the development of this bioaeration program is that the opportunity to really complement traditional cultural practices, whether that's core aeration or verticutting, to help support better soil structure, in particular, helping alleviate compaction, helping soils drain better. We know that biology plays a really critical role, and there's a lot of work that's gone on recently from some very pioneering folks. So take Dr. Fred Bilo at the University of Illinois has talked a lot about the importance of biologicals for helping support healthy soils and productivity of crops. Right. The same is absolutely true for turf. Okay. And having a rich and active biological system associated with the plant roots, with the turf roots, is going to improve your situation in terms of making fertility programs more efficient and also helping improve soil structure situations in where you have a rich biological system.
Perfect. So one of the things we know about turf systems, right, grass systems in general, is that they lay down a lot of surface organic matter, right? Absolutely. So there's a lot of food in there for biologicals that are inherent to the site to function, right?
No question.
But oftentimes that organic matter is there and the soil physical properties still aren't very good, right? You may have some compaction. Does in the work you've seen other places, does the interaction with the existing organic matter enhance? Because, you know, they're always trying to manage organic matter, and we do a lot of coring and otherwise. So let's start with a little bit more about, you've got a very organic rich system. who may have some soil physical problems.
Right.
How does this work in that sort of what seems like a mass of stuff already?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me...
Good. This is good.
Let me go to just kind of what it is. So just kind of skip past some of the stuff that more or less just describes the program.
Yeah.
But kind of get into the components. So with this bioaeration program, we position two distinct biological technologies. So the first one is a product called SP1. This was a product that we developed in actually not the Growth Products legacy, a different legacy that came together. But what we've seen is the opportunity to really change soils with this technology. It's a liquid inoculant. It contains a consortia of bacillus bacteria as well as green microalgae and a humus extract that's a rich source of organic carbon. So carbon can be derived from multiple sources. Most people in the room think about humic acid as an important source of carbon, and certainly it is. This is a different source of organic carbon that's derived, it's purely plant-based, so unlike humic acid. So again, the main focus there...
That's the first part.
That's the first part.
Okay.
The second part, and getting to your question about organic matter, is around Residus WS. So this is a technology that the focus is recycling organic matter.
Okay.
So it contains also a consortia of bacillus bacteria, but in addition, it has two fungi. And the fungi are really the workhorses here. So fungi are absolutely, as we know, their role in nature is to recycle things, right? That's the main role of most fungi in nature. Of course, some are plant pathogens.
That's right.
But the majority are recyclers.
That's right.
That's what they do. And we have two very good ones that are part of this solution. And the idea there is to degrade organic material, whether that's thatch at the surface, and of course that's an important role of this solution, is to help reduce thatch layer, which can be an important reservoir for disease. It's also a rich source of nutrients, right?
Perfect.
There's a lot of free fertilizer that's trapped in all of that dead material.
Well, and then, we know, as you know as a microbiologist, there's always this competition for the nitrogen between the plants and the microbes themselves. As scientists, data. I know Growth Products has been around. You're bringing in some new technology.
Absolutely.
When you say the soil changes,
yes,
can you quantify that around certain parameters? What are they?
Absolutely. So I'll touch on just a couple of points. So we partnered in our past with multiple universities, including Texas A&M and Michigan State, and I'll highlight those two here. So as an example, in work done with Michigan State, this is an example from 2022. In this case, comparing bioaeration to a core aeration program.
So you didn't core those plots.
Correct. So specifically looking at turf quality, and this is multiple assessments. You can see the dates up there that are being highlighted. So combined and a 1 to 9 turf quality scale. So a subjective scale. But there was an improvement in bioaeration. So visual turf quality being improved. This is probably even more significant because we're talking about soil compaction. So this is work from Texas A&M where they looked at, on the top, a combination of different cultural practices, whether that's aeration or verticutting, without the bioaeration program, so minus DPH.
So is that a Kleghammer measure? That's not a bulk density measure.
That's a PSI measure.
So it's a PSI measure,
using
putting a penetrometer.
A penetrometer, correct.
Okay.
And then on the bottom, you can see plus DPH, so this is the DPH, those two biological components. And the interesting part was aeration and verticutting both, really not a change compared to the, even above minus. But if you look at just DPH products, no cultural practice, that's what CP means. It had the best compaction score, and it was statistically significant. You can see the statistics. So
lower numbers better.
Lower numbers better. You want lower compaction numbers. That means a softer playing surface.
Okay. All right. So at first you said supplement. Now it looks like I can replace. Are there real labor? I mean, listen,
absolutely.
We have figured out there's probably a million places out there you can figure out how to drive a piece of metal into the ground.
Sure.
Right? And we love it.
Absolutely.
We get 100 people core and we love it.
Yes.
Are you saying we don't get to do that anymore?
Well, so it depends on your situation.
I can see the guys twitching now, not being able to air.
It depends on your situation. So I want to highlight an example of a real-world situation. So Grand Park is a facility. It's actually my hometown in Westfield, Indiana.
Sports field.
It's 400 acres of recreational fields. It's one of the largest in the country.
Okay.
Summer home of the Indianapolis Colts. So this is a significant site.
And I'm sure a professional sports field manager.
Exactly. So the supervisor or superintendent here allowed us to trial this program on 4 soccer pitches. I highlighted this here. And we looked at different programs, either 2 applications of bioaeration, spring, fall, or 4, which would include 2 applications during the summertime. So
that's best. Let's stop there for a second. Go back. That's best practices right there. Which one of those is best practices?
So that's a great question, and I'll come back to it because it actually depends on how aggressively you want to manage the situation.
Okay.
So traditional practice at this site is 5 to 6 core aerations a year.
Right.
That's what they traditionally do. That was field 19 in this example, or treatment 4. So field 19 and field 21 are adjacent to each other. There's no actual line there. You can see the culvert, the drainage ditch that separates them. Field 21 in this picture had 1 application in April.
Okay.
And I took that picture August 28th.
All right, hold on a second now. Okay. We love these before and after pictures, don't we? Or side-by-side things.
Well,
what about nutrients?
Seeing is believing.
How come that can't that be nutrients? It may not be fixing a physical problem. It may actually just be releasing nutrients that are
or
there.
It's the the biology helping release nutrients.
That's the point. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, does it really matter if you're getting
that's the point.
Better quality turf, right?
Exactly right. Okay, so best practices.
Right.
Let's get to the best practices as we start to wrap up.
So on heavy play, and just as an example, I do want to highlight, we did actually, working with a partner, Biomakers, we did a metagenomic analysis of those 2 fields, grid sampled. We saw a clear change in soil biology that was positive in the field that I showed. And this is the year after, before any application was made. So visually, you could still see a difference. Now, field 22 had 4 applications. And if you talk to Ryan, the superintendent here, Ryan Fisher, excellent superintendent, he would tell you the 4 application program for them was the best program. This is a highly trafficked situation. So best practices in highly trafficked, I would recommend likely 4 applications. In a homeowner lawn, 1. Really.
Golf course putting green. Golf course putting green.
Golf course putting green, 2 to 4 typically.
Okay. Per year?
Per year.
Perfect. Okay. So best practices for best results, somewhat related to, and I'm with you 100% on this, that 5 times aeration, we usually don't get enough aeration on sports fields, so I'm really pleased to see, well, the field is used and they know what they're doing.
They're aggressive.
But they've got that, they've got that component there. So now I don't have to make as many applications, but I want to, as we wrap up, differentiate you again from maybe the other things that are saying liquid aeration.
Absolutely.
It's a very popular marketing term.
No question.
How is yours different than the other terms? I think I know growth products, and I can see what you're showing me. And it makes sense, biologically.
Absolutely.
I can understand it. How is yours different than somebody else telling I got liquid aeration? 1, we have data.
Yeah. So one thing I would challenge for people that claim they have data is asking for the data. So we're working with universities. It's not just, I share Grand Park because that's a real world example, but it's not just anecdotal. We have science that we're backing this technology up. These are technologies that have been proven over many years in other uses. So for example, SP1 is a product that's been used in row crop agriculture for over 20 years and is broadly used across the United States in that space. So it's been proven in other crops. We're just bringing it now to turf because we see that potential benefit in turf. And, again, it's 1, investing in the time and the resources to really prove it out.
Okay.
And, 2, we're not saying it's going to fix every situation. So I'm not telling you this is going to be mother's milk and it's going to solve every problem. But I do think as we think about conventional management practices, one area, if you haven't tried biology, I would strongly encourage you to think about that. Biologicals can make a significant difference in conventional practices. I've lived it in my days at Pioneer and seed treatment. I've lived it in my days at Syngenta, and we're certainly seeing it here at DPH.
It's so great to have you here, Alex.
Absolutely.
And I'm really excited about this technology you're bringing. Really appreciate you having that data. And of course, from a scientist perspective, you can never have enough data. So
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you taking the time to join us. I'm Frank Rossi. I'm so excited to be on the GCSAA TV live stage here at the GCSAA TV live stage, in partnership with NView, here at the 2024 GCSAA conference and show. We'll be back with some more segments later on. Really appreciate Alex taking the time to join us. We'll be right back.